unprofessionalism. Like we said, this isn't a professional review. We're not a full-time review channel. However, we're just going to give you a quick rundown of the car. We are in the driveway of my house and you've got cars going up and down, so please excuse us. First of all, front of the car, obviously they've changed that right up. The GLS Premium comes with a standard, I don't know if that's aluminium or steel, but it's very flimsy. But it comes with a standard bull bar on the front. This is the idea of the nudge bar. It does come with two mounts, so you can fix the light too. However, you probably never ever want to do that because the front bumper camera is right under here, as you can see. And the second you put a light, it basically makes your 360-degree camera completely useless. So I still can't understand it. Anyway, the front of the car, obviously, it's much more chunkier. It's much more boxy. It looks a lot more manly, in my opinion. The next thing you might notice, guys, is the wheel arches. No longer circled wheel arches with your stick-on arches on the outside of that. It's all part of the panel now. The whole body is actually shaped to that, and they're squared. Personally, I think the square thing is more of a modern thing. I think all cars are going to end up going that way. But the Amarok, the Hilux, very popular for doing that. Quick bonus, same tyres that I had fitted on from my previous vehicle, same size. And for some reason, in the previous vehicle, the MQ, I did get a bit of rubbing within that first 5,000 Ks that I drove it until it wore out the spot that it was hitting. In these ones, I haven't even been able to rub one. So I think Mitsubishi have given us a little bit more play in the wheel arches. This is just for the guys at home that do follow the channel and are curious about which car we are driving and why we're driving it and what the interior is like. And for anyone that is interested in the Mitsubishi Triton, it's just a very, very quick rundown of the technology they've thrown in this thing. And for anyone with the MQ, just to know what they are offering in the MR that wasn't in the MQ previously. First of all, as you can see, they have added a lot of soft touch, whether it's real leather or synthetic, I'm not sure, but let's call it leather for now. Soft touch leather, just with a bit of cushioning underneath. They've put it in very relevant spots. So first off, obviously when you're driving, you got it on the center console now. That helps a lot. I know me personally, I'm always driving with the left arm on there and the right arm on the steering wheel. You now have it on both the passenger, the driver's side door and the rear passenger doors also. A bit of cushioning on the side here when you are resting your elbow along that door. That helps. One of the most critical places they could have put it, and they did, thank God, is right beside your knee, the knee bashes. On the previous MQ they had hard plastic just like this silver plastic here. First of all, it wears off straight away, so you tend to have a lot of black scratches on it from your knee. Secondly, obviously when you're off-roading and you're shaking back and forth, you do have something now soft to bash up against, which helps a lot. Okay, so obviously the four-wheel drive system in the old car, the Super Select system, is pretty much the same. The only difference is these two buttons here. Obviously we still have the lock center as we did on the old vehicle. However, you got hill descent control. So as you can imagine, it's pretty straightforward. You're going down a steep hill, could be loose gravel or whatever it may be. Car basically takes over all the braking, all the accelerating, and basically just manages you down this steep hill. The exciting part is this new terrain mode. It's much quicker now. As you can see, just above there on the top left corner, it says gravel. At some point now, you always have to choose which mode you want to be in. So depending on what you're driving, we have gravel. Now every time I press that button, it's simply just going to change. So we've got mud, snow, we have sand and gravel. They're the three options that we have. How much Mitsubishi has actually put into this, we don't know yet. We're very curious to know if these things actually determine how much accelerating input you get, how sensitive the accelerator pedal is, does the steering change. All that stuff is yet to be determined, so we'll update you with the full drive review on this. We're still a couple of weeks away from that, so just stay tuned. Another feature they've added on this car is a adaptive high beam mode. What it basically does is automatically, so you've got the button right there, it automatically turns on and off your high beam according to the traffic you have in front of you. So if there was a car within 200 meters of range, it will shut it off. If the road gets to a certain darkness, if you want to call it that, it will switch on automatically. So it is good for those long freeway drives at night. You no longer need to switch your high beams on and off every time a car is oncoming and turn it on after they've gone past. The car will now do that for you, which is very helpful. The storage space, they've just made it a bit more smarter. So originally here you had a random sort of base that sat a bit higher in over here. In the old previous MQ, which meant when you did have your keys and everything in there, when you did accelerate, they would tend to slide out. What a lot of people did when they bought the MQ is take that out first. In this case, however, they've made a nice deep compartment over here. You never really have anything sliding in. It fits a lot more. The phone fits nicely in there as well. And lastly, in the center console, you no longer have the base that sat up the top of it as well. There was originally a base that sat on the top of the MQ, which meant you could put stuff in it. However, to get to the things underneath, you had to lift that up. Every time you lifted that up, you dropped out everything that was in that base. It was pretty annoying. That came out on the old MQ straight away as well. So yeah, you got a much deeper base now, easier to get to. No first level that you now need to lift up or down. 360-degree cameras are now standard on the GLS Premium. Amazing. Works brilliantly in the day. At night, you might as well be blind. So if I slap that in reverse right now, okay, and that's telling me right now. Okay, now as I approach the end of this driveway, in this center screen, you would tell me as a car begins to approach that there is traffic. There's a car coming around the corner, and as that car approaches, my car's just basically going to tell me right before he does get to that point where he's in my way, it'll just basically give me the heads up that there is a car coming. Works brilliantly. I think that's an amazing feature. That's for the front of the car. Let's jump in the back and we'll have a look at what they've done in the rear passenger seats. Okay. Seat wise, you got pretty much the same thing. Middle console, you got two cup holders. Nothing's changed there. Folds up, folds down pretty easy. Behind the seat, pretty much the same thing. You got your car jack, your jacking equipment, your tire equipment, your wheel equipment, whatever you want to call it. Knee room is pretty much the same as the old thing. You're working off the same chassis. It's the same dual cab. Head height, pretty much the same thing. What you will notice now is in the roof, you got this big system. I'll explain what that does. Okay, if you look at these controls right here, so if I click on, we have 4 power modes. So we'll put in the lowest one because it's a bit noisy. But you got vents here. And all this thing really is doing is basically just, they've basically grabbed the hairdryer and just chucked it in the roof of your car. You got an inlet here, sucks air from the front of the car, drags it out to the back through these ports here, and you also have little ventilations that you can't really block off. What that does do is just basically take the air conditioning or the temperature from the front of the cabin and transfer it to the back immediately. It's not like a rear seat air conditioner. Obviously, if you had air conditioning to the back seat, it'd be much more beneficial. However, I love the fact that Mitsubishi have actually just done something about the rear passengers. This is very helpful down the center over here. You now have 2 USB ports for the rear passengers. On those long drives, instead of people running cables from the front of the car to the back, you now have two ports for the rear passengers, and you also have some storage space over here as well, which helps a little bit. Well guys, this is the on-road review. Here at Adventure Australia, we haven't been really big on this. I mean, usually every time you flick onto the channel, we're taking a 4x4 off-road and we're smashing it up these dunes, up these rocks, damaging it, but for once we're doing something a bit more settled. We're going to give you a quick rundown of the differences between the MR Trident, which is the current one that I'm driving, and the MQ that I previously had. Some of the advantages, disadvantages, pros, cons, we'll see if there are any. First of all, I have to start, obviously, refinement. You definitely feel it in this car. it is more sound insulated, definitely. I had the same all-terrain tyres on my previous Trident, previous generation, and it sounds more quiet. On braking, under acceleration, I did get a lot of tyre noise eventually come up, and I feel like that's been cancelled out. And the suspension and the shocks have been revised. That's something I definitely know, and that's something that you'll feel the second you get in the car. It's not as jittery. So in the back right now, I have nothing in the Trident. We're completely empty, and usually that was the worst way to drive your ute. But for once, I'm driving the ute with no load in the back, and the back doesn't seem very unsettled. It's not jumping around under every bump that we hit. And next thing that'll take me on is to the steering. I'm driving around right now on BF Goodrich KO2 all-terrain tyres. My previous tyres were the same tyre, also both with aftermarket rims. And in the previous generation Trident, I was getting a lot of, I was getting too much feedback from the steering wheel. Every little bump in the road, I was feeling it. It was constantly vibrating whenever I went over 80 kilometers, and I haven't felt that for a second in this car. Whether they've done something mechanically in the steering or not, we're not sure, but it definitely feels different. It feels more secure, it feels more stable, it feels more tied down to the road, which is good. The next thing I want to go on is that 6th gear. So I've just done about half an hour of driving on a highway, and a lot of that drive was 100 k's plus. And when you're doing that with only 5 gears, you definitely felt it in the previous generation Trident. It feels much more settled, it feels less stressed, it feels more capable. And yeah, Mitsubishi have done a good job with the gearbox. It is very quick to click down if you need to put some power down. So yeah, when it comes to that, no complaints at all. A few points here and there I want to point out. The sensors on this, the front bumper sensors, they tend to go off a lot of the time when there is nothing around the vehicle. I don't know if a fly's landing on the sensor or whatnot, but it's happened a fair few times. Once it was raining, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe there was water clogged up on it, and I don't know, maybe one of the sensors went off. Other than that, but the sensors have gone off quite a few times while I was driving, so that's probably the only thing I can criticise in this car. Other than that, Mitsubishi has done an excellent job with this new Trident. As you can see right now, as we're showing you the outside of the vehicle, it's definitely a stunning car. It looks a lot more manly, a lot more masculine. It doesn't look so pretty as the old one did. And yeah, well guys, that's our Mitsubishi Trident MR 2019 review. This is the GLS Premium, remember guys? For now, this is all we can give you on this. Soon we will have a review of George's new Ranger. So stay tuned for that, that's going to be interesting. This is the most honest review I could have given you guys. Any compliments, any criticism, anything you liked or disliked, please leave in the comments below. We are going to be a bit more active on the channel from now on guys, and we will promise to be uploading a lot more often. We've been bombarded with weddings, work over the last year, but we are going to spend a bit more time just boosting up the Adventure Australia channel, giving you guys what you've been asking for all the guys that have been hitting us up about not uploading lately. Forgive us, as you've seen in the previous video, there was a bit of an incident that happened with the last Trident, and there was a long turnaround before we passed through insurance and buying a new car. So yeah, forgive us for that guys. As we have mentioned to you guys in previous videos, if you are a Christian following the channel, there are Bible verses below that we're leaving. Please take the time to read them guys. If anyone needs a free Bible sent anywhere around Australia, we will also do that for free. God bless guys, stay tuned, we'll see you soon.